Testing. 1, 2, 3. We are in a new space today. Woo! Welcome, Therapists Unhinged Besties, to the podcast. My name is Taylor Moore, LPC.
And I am Madi Alvarez, also LPC.
I hope it's like the acoustics in here are fine. We actually just did a photo shoot for season 2.
Season 2.
Which is why you see us in makeup and actually wearing like not sweatshirts.
Real people clothes.
I feel like that's just like the story of our lives. It's we're just the dichotomy is like one extreme or the next. You either see us like completely disheveled in workout clothes or sweatpants.
Coming straight from a class.
Or just like the full glam effect. Mm-hmm. We have zero in between, which is totally not therapist of us because we live in the gray area.
Ooh.
But
it's okay. We're human too.
We're human.
And humans
are
so messy.
The messiest. But yeah, we just luckily had our girl Sherry here taking pictures of us. But we're like, the lighting is so great in here. And we have all of our stuff.
We might as well.
We might as well record. And we look great.
Yeah. And we're trying to be better about marketing and like putting our, you know what I mean?
Basically
like,
not looking like shit. We think we were like, hey, presentation.
Right. We want to present ourselves.
But also at the same time, I think that that's what makes it unhinged is that we just don't even, it's not that we don't try, but it's like, no, we're just here to chat.
Yeah. We're really just talking.
Wherever the fuck we're at. And that's why we're here in this space. And it actually makes me really sad because I was like, you know what? This is a good time to roll out a different couch because it's time to put old green couch out to pasture.
It's broken.
Yeah, it is so broken. Like it's sitting on books.
But we've held on to it.
That's how like bad it is that it's sitting on my therapy books. It's sitting on all my old college psychology books that I won't touch.
That's what you need your textbooks for, folks.
And just to hold your couch up with because it's on one leg. No, but I am getting a leather couch, so it's like actually good. Because I was like, okay, what will be good for dogs? What will like allow them not to scratch, or what won't hold like that stench that they hold? So I got leather.
Maybe it's the same for my kids too.
Not
Not that they're stinky. They just spill a lot of stuff.
Not that they have stenches.
Not that they're stenchy.
Well, it's funny because I realized like I bought a couch too that has like replaceable like shams.
Smart.
So yeah,
That's a move there.
I'll send y'all the
So
link.
you've got the awareness around the fact that your couch is broken and you're making a change.
Yeah, and I just wanted to prepare y'all for that because the next time that y'all see the podcast, I know obviously we're in a new space, but the couch will be gone and it'll be different, and there's like no goodbye for y'all. So go back to the last episode.
Say goodbye.
I'm having a hard time with it. It was the first couch it was my first big girl purchase.
Aww.
Like I bought that couch and I was like, it was a $2,000 couch, and you buying yourself that, like, I mean, obviously I guess like my car, but everyone buys a car. Like that's
right.
This was like, okay,
My first big
I'm
piece of
domesticated
furniture.
as fuck buying a couch.
Yeah, furniture's expensive, man.
It really is. And she was a good couch.
I'm glad that you're accepting this.
Yeah, I'm glad that there's some acceptance. No, I'm definitely going through the grieving process. It'll be okay. I know my dogs are even going to be sad, but you know, we have a new couch for our podcast, and there is a level of acceptance and there's a level of change that y'all are going to have to
I was like really hammering that one in there.
Hey, if you don't know what our podcast is going to be about today, now you do. But yeah, those are my life updates. Still wedding planning. What about you? Any
My life updates? Not really. I'm still just kind of doing the same thing, you know? I'm doing the same thing. I'm momming out hard, being a mom. My husband joined the fire academy, so he's going to be a firefighter, which is really awesome. He's killing it. And I am being a therapist. What a duo right there, right?
A therapist and a fire.
And I'm a trauma therapist too, so you know there's going to be some.
Well, I'm putting some real work into this world.
Right. Well, and then we got like, you know, my first responders out there, or firefighters, or, you know, nurses, doctors. You guys see
anyone in the medical.
Yeah, you guys see some stuff. So that's my life update.
That's the life update. Yeah, we've had some good things, I feel like, kind of coming this year so far. But it was really excited, obviously, to shoot again with Sherry. So we're excited for you to see that content again. She's just so good. But I think it's just even more just fun to take pictures with your friends.
Yes.
That's like the most girly thing. Like get dressed up and take pictures with your friends.
So fun.
Yeah, and let alone talk with them just for shits and gigs.
To chit chat today.
Yeah. Well, today we were kind of not necessarily taking any, because we've had a lot of structured like, I feel like podcast episodes.
Right.
And I think that was one of the things, like, today I was like, you know what, we're in a different space. Like, let's take the kind of structure out of it. But we wanted to just kind of freelance talk on some things that we notice in therapy that become kind of barriers. Like, you're obviously in treatment, you're doing the sessions, you have weekly sessions, and then you hit like this like plateau. You hit this wall. And I see it not only in different levels of care, but I see it with my own patients. So it's something that we all face, I think, as therapists, but we also face as participants in our own therapy, where we do have to kind of pivot and see what's going on.
Right.
Because I think there's levels to it. But I think we're first going to talk about kind of acceptance and change, which I know is a huge part of my DBT modality, personally, that I use a lot in my main job, my big girl job, because I'm not making any money from this shit, but but the big girl job, I definitely use that modality more head front. But I will say that acceptance point, you think about it, where it's like, okay, the first step is awareness. The first step is saying that, you know, this is what I'm going through. Naming it, labeling it, also kind of getting in the door.
Right.
But then that next step, which is, I feel like sometimes even harder, is saying, am I ready for change? And I think a lot of the times I ask my patients that, where it's saying, okay, now that you have this information, it's not saying, are you ready to change it? It's, what are you wanting to do with this information?
Right.
I feel like I do create that like moment for them to decide, but a lot of the times they're not.
Right.
And that's a big thing I think I face as a therapist, where it's like, you can come into therapy and talk it out, but sometimes you're not even ready to do that work. And that's okay, but it is going to be a big part of your progress.
Right. Well, and I think I like that you said DBT modality. I come from a very internal family systems. I'm a parts work therapist, so we really need to do an episode on that because it's my favorite thing ever.
I feel like we've been meaning to do that.
I know. We could have done it, but anyway. So from a parts work perspective, like our self energy, right? Who we are, who we want to be, who we know we are, right? That part of us wants to change. That self energy. I won't call it a part. That's self energy. Yeah. It's our protector parts normally that are like not ready for the change, right? They're not ready to say, hey, all these things that I've been doing to protect you for as long as I have, like, you're telling me I don't do them anymore. Yeah. And they don't want to move, right? And that's totally fine. And I think it can be really frustrating on a client end to be in that space where you like, I want to change up here, but my body doesn't want to change. Yeah. And I just want to normalize that because I've experienced that myself, right? Where I will have awareness all day long around a problem, but I finally, like, the cool part is when you can admit, like, I don't think I'm ready to change. And then will I accept that if nothing changes, nothing changes? Yeah. Because that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Right?
A huge part of it. And I like that you said that because a lot of the times our behaviors and things that we develop and the things that ultimately we're needing to kind of check in with and change ultimately if we're wanting to does come from like our past, our experiences and the ways we've kind of moved and protected ourselves and just held space for ourselves. But then we recognize, is this still something that is effective for me in my goals? So I think a huge thing too is that change aspect. Is it fitting your goals now? Because I think as therapists, it's not our job to change people. We don't want to change you. No. It is more so just recognizing that we're just a constant mirror of things you're saying and saying that that's not what you said before, or that's not aligned with the goals that you've reflected on to have your goals changed. Like there's constant ebbs and flows. Right. And I think that you bringing up like these kind of sometimes wounds, so like how I'll phrase it, can say like, hey, is this something where I'm still needing to take care of this? And is this something I'm going to hold on to? Right. So
I'll give a kind of visual or a explanation. I'll use an example of one of my protector parts, which is people pleasing. I am a huge people pleaser. Or I guess I say recovering now because
you do say that.
I'm a recovering people pleaser because I have stepped into active change, which is wildly uncomfortable. But one of my protector parts is people pleasing, and what it protects me from is people being mad at me, because as a little girl, when people were mad at me, and kind of the environment I grew up in, if people were mad at me, it felt really scary and dangerous.
Yeah.
So my little people pleaser developed to protect little Maddie from anger and conflict, right? And so when I recognized that was a problem, just because I recognized that doesn't mean all of a sudden there was like this feeling of safety in letting that part of me go.
Yeah.
100% wasn't. I was actually like, oh wait, no. And so if you were my therapist asking me, are you ready to change at that point in my life? I would have said, no, I don't want to give this part of me up because I'm scared.
Well, I think even more so to that point is saying like, I need this. Like this is something that I'm needing to feel secure, to feel safe. And I think that's where that exploration comes in, where it's saying, hey, what is it about this that makes you feel safe? Right. And then it's going into, are there, things around you that make you feel unsafe in this moment, or is it just in the past?
Right.
So it's just like exploring that more.
Right.
And I think that's a huge part of like what we do as therapists, and even just you kind of going into that vulnerability of yourself. I think that there are a lot of things that I reflect on my change, that I have grown, and then I get pulled into a moment where it comes right back in, and I sit and I'm like, it's hard because it doesn't just always go away at the drop of a hat. And I think that there are some things that can bring, and induce that feeling back. Right. And you feel like you haven't grown. And I'm specifically talking about like my interactions with my family. Sometimes
right.
I just totally regress.
Right.
But I think that you recognizing that this is a part of you that, it comes up because of XYZ. And this is something I've been working on changing, but it's also caring for it and understanding it when it does come up. That's so if you have changed it.
Well, and I love that you brought that up because I think that's where awareness is helpful.
Yeah.
Right? You're aware, like, okay, I'm aware that it's coming up. I'm aware that I'm doing kind of some old patterns, right? But if you stop there, well, then stop at awareness, then there's really nothing that's going to happen after that. And that's, like when people start to maybe get frustrated with you, right? Even as empathetic as, we can be for the people we love.
Yeah.
If we stop at just awareness and we start to kind of use that, right? Like, oh, I'm aware, don't worry. Well, we got to gently move towards change if we want things to be different.
Yeah, and not even to be harsh, but then it goes into the level of like, am I making excuses for, my behavior? Am I enabling my behavior? And are other people enabling me too with it? Because I think that's another thing too, which I can go off on, and maybe I will. I'll talk about what this means to kind of be like this as a therapist in our dynamics, because I do not take such strong opinions on things, or I do take such a fluid kind of motion about how I approach other people's change or other people's own awareness of their, of their struggles. And it's something I see day in, day out with my family. It's something I talk with my partner on regularly, that we have a hard time seeing our people, go through struggles. And we have different approaches to how, we approach their struggles. My partner is very like, this is what you should do. Like, this is like, hey, this. And I'm very much like, what are you wanting to do? Where do you feel like you need to be at? Is this something that you feel like is suitable for you still? And the frustration he has with me. And he's just like,
so he has a very logical part of
very
himself
logical side of the brain, like facts. This is the facts. And I'm like, hey, but the emotional capacity and the threshold in it can be a lot deeper. But that's us as therapists.
Yeah, and sorry to our partners.
Love you
guys so much. Thanks for letting us therapize you.
Sorry if you're hearing the truck outside. I don't even know how much feedback everyone's getting.
We won't know until we listen back.
That's the story of our lives with these things. But no, I think that acceptance and change is a big part of obviously therapy, but it is an ongoing, and you'd be surprised. It's so layered in everything you're bringing to therapy.
Right.
So you might have that aha moment, but don't stop there. You can't just stop at the aha moment.
Like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense, and it feels so good when it makes sense.
Yes.
But the sense doesn't change.
Yeah.
Right? Like, having that understanding doesn't mean, well, now you still have to do the things, right? And that's the part people don't like, because yes, the awareness and going back and kind of unwrapping and unpacking some of these patterns is painful and uncomfortable, right? But to step out into a world with those parts of you not leading the way anymore, right? Like me stepping out into the world with my people pleaser next to me rather than in front of me, right, is scary. It means what I need to do to change is be with myself and that people pleaser, little Maddie, right, when people are mad at her, because they will be mad at me. I will disappoint people. You will disappoint people, right? And it's about, can I be with these parts of myself? And you said comforting earlier, which I really love that you brought that up, because we don't want to punish these parts. They're not bad, right? We just kind of want to say, hey, people pleaser, it's not about you. Right? And I think I've referenced this part of me like pretty much from day one. But
No, I know. And I'm glad you have, because it just is so true. Because when we have these things come up, that comforting aspect, but also just saying like, hey, it's going to be okay. There's going to be conflict and you are still enough. You're still this. So it's just a beautiful example of how this kind of goes, because you do acknowledge these things. They don't just go away. It takes time. And like I said, mine still comes up every once in a while and reminds me, it's like, hey, still here. And people still trigger it. People still emotionally activate it. People still bring out those things in you. And we are works in progress, but it's all about progress. But it's your definition of progress too. And that's something that I always challenge of saying, hey, where's the effectiveness? Because, we all are wanting better for ourselves. That's another DBT assumption, where it's just like we all are all trying to be better. And some people don't believe that, but some people just don't see it, see the thing. So it's like mirror, flashlight, show, like this is what you're doing and this is what you're wanting. Do those work together. Sometimes no.
sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they don't.
That's okay.
And that is okay. But we need to recognize that we are being our own worst enemy.
Yep. And there's just such a beautiful way, I think, kind of where I've seen therapists present day handle things. There's a beautiful way to hold your patients and the people around you accountable, right? But love them while you do it. I've just seen so many good therapists on like social media or just like hearing you talk, right? Just how because I think what a good therapist does is we don't want to become enablers in your life either.
Mm-mm.
Like that would make us, you need to, at that point, like I pay you, right? Because I'm just causing more of a harm in your life if I'm not gently holding you accountable.
Yeah.
Right? Gentle. It's my favorite word.
Sometimes I feel like sometimes I can be a little bit more assertive too, but I definitely think that there is levels to it, and we recognize that we're not always the best too. Sometimes we are trying our best to invoke change. Sometimes I definitely feel like, especially with kids, when I'm working with kids.
I can't work with kids.
It's so hard it's hard to be gentle, but then it's hard not to get into that parental role. Right. I have to constantly check myself.
Right.
Just like I'm not.
I think I have enough awareness about myself as a mom, having kids, like knowing like, I don't think I could do that. Yeah. People who work with kids are amazing.
Ask me again when I have kids. I don't have kids right now, so I'm able to do it. But
I've heard people kind of sometimes change that.
It's actually interesting that you say this, and this is kind of just a segue quick, but I think the level of people in my work field that want to work with kids is minimal. So I'm like the only one they've been putting in there. That's all I work with now.
That's amazing.
It's like, am I going to be with the adults again soon? I'm starting to pick up their lingo.
Confused.
No, and this is not even bad. Like I love them to death, but I'm starting to say like you more, because that's their filler word. And so I noticed I was picking up on it. It's like, oh no. This is because I talk to them in groups constantly, and you are kind of who you surround yourself with and engage with regularly. Right. So I noticed I started to say like a lot.
Well, you know what? I don't work with kids and I still say that. So you're doing better than me.
Thank you.
But I think kind of to circle back is...
Yeah, I want us to kind of go back to I know you wanted to talk about kind of coping skills too, because there's a level of, hey, when we get in here and we get stuck.
Right.
So I know if you want to bring that up.
Sure. Yeah. I was just kind of on the flow of, when we think sometimes that coping skills are used to incite change, and they are in fact not.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people think like, oh, if I just like journal about this enough, like I'm gonna change.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
No, it's
I'm like,
that's funny. Like I say that because I've been there, right? And that's not to be offensive. That's just to say like journaling can be a beautiful coping skill to again gain
self-care,
insight. Yeah, self-care. Unpack, right? Brain dump, get it out of your head. It's not going to make a change. Right? You're honestly probably what some of us do when we overuse coping skills. We get stuck in these like insight loops, or we get stuck in these patterns. Because let's break down the word, right? What does coping mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I don't know if I've said this on here before, but there's a difference between self-care and obviously coping strategies and coping skills. So whenever we're thinking self-care, this is more like preventative. This is more like you're recharging that battery. And then coping skills are what you use to in a moment of distress. Those are what you're using to kind of get yourself back to regulatory state, grounding yourself. But your battery is in Fritz, in a Fritz mode. And it's just to get you back to what I call baseline. It gets you back to a regulated state. You're no longer in a moment of emotional dysregulation or distress. And those are coping strategies that you can use, throughout. I kind of give it that Likert scale of 0 to 10 or 1 to 10. And coping strategies are kind of used when you're deviating from that baseline or the distress is starting to rise. And they look different at each level of that scale.
Right.
But if you have something else to add with that. But like I said, self-care and coping strategies are very different.
Right.
And they look, like I said, one's preventative and one's for in the moment.
Right. And coping, again, I love that you said it's to bring you back to baseline. It's not, again, it's not going to change you.
Nope.
Right. Coping skills are meant to help regulate you. But again, I'm just kind of.
They can feel like Band-Aids.
Right. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful and they're helpful and they're necessary. Again, I think like kind of with this topic is just all about if you're feeling stuck in therapy or you felt stuck in your life, we just kind of wanted to give some insight onto maybe why that is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a good example of like how we can overuse coping skills. I think I already kind of did with the journaling a little bit.
I can get into it too, because I will say the level of care that I work with virtual IOP, that's kind of what we're teaching. So it's a level of, there's a lack of functionality. There's a lot of emotional distress. So skill sets are needed to be used. Now, they're not for everyone. Like they are just to get you back to baseline and back to a cognitive level of being able to think and process your emotions in therapy.
Right.
So whenever people are at such heightened levels of distress, we're not able to think as clearly. And so that's something that it's doing you a disservice if we're saying, hey, talk through this, while you're in just such a dysregulated state.
Right.
So we use skills. I mean, one that I know is beat over the head is deep breathing, breathing skills. But one of my favorites to teach is probably the most simple is TIP, which is temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing, and progressive muscle relaxation. And that's just grabbing a piece of ice for temperature, like shocking kind of the system, taking a cold shower, splashing cold water on your face, and then intense exercise or whatever that looks like to you. People hold a wall sit, people do push-ups really fast.
Right.
It's kind of shocking your system or matching the physical reactions you are getting during that distress moment. And obviously paced breathing is doing breathing exercises a certain way, and then that progressive muscle relaxation, which I can go through another thing, but it's a grounding skill.
Right.
But all of these have to do with your physical sensations you're experiencing in your body that are in that fight or flight mode.
Right.
And so those skills are such a high level that it's saying this doesn't have to do anything with thinking through.
Right.
It is just regulating your nervous system so you can get to a space to talk about it. Because the skill itself just gets you back down. And if you're doing nothing after that skill use or saying, hey, what just happened?
You're right back where you were.
Yeah, it's going to continue to happen. And it's kind of like you said, where it's going to get to a level where you, I don't want to say numb it out, but you kind of, what's the word? Like water it down. Like that skill usage the first time, it might have helped you so much, but by the 15th, 100th time, you're like, okay, this ice cube isn't working anymore.
Right.
And that's because we haven't talked it through. It's officially kind of explored past it or diluted it. I don't know.
You're almost kind of saying like, well, also in a way it's like avoidant, right?
Yeah.
Like we're avoiding the actual, like, can you imagine if we're in therapy together, you're getting emotional, right? But not like unsafely emotional, right? Or like escalated. You're just having feelings and I go, oh my, just take some deep breaths here.
Yeah.
Just breathe it away. And you're like, okay. Well, then I've just cut off her this emotional output that was very much necessary for her process, right? Like we've got to allow our bodies to have those emotional responses. So sometimes people will use deep breathing as like a little bit of avoidant, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm having these big feelings. I'm going to breathe them right back down, lock them in the box where I keep them.
I love that you said that, because I think too, the point is obviously coping strategies are another thing to use when you're in a space where you can't go through the motions of it. And what she's saying is like, hey, if you're in therapy, that's a safe space to emotionally express and allow what's going on to come out. So it's saying as a therapist, we're not telling deep breathe. We'll definitely have like them process it out. But I always tell my kids, you know, if you're in school or you're taking a test where the space doesn't equal what you're needing in that moment.
Right, like I can't have a safe emotional output here.
Yeah, output here. That's when coping strategies are really good. But I think if your body is telling you something's going on, you should kind of sit and see how that emotional expression comes out. Obviously, more so to the point of I usually have kiddos stop doing that, or even just adults too, if they notice that there's a behavior or an action urge that is unhealthy or harmful to them that comes with this. So usually we do kind of pull that back or use coping strategies if there's behaviors or urges. But other than that, exactly what Maddie is saying, there are spaces that you need to identify to allow yourself to move through.
Right. And you're not meant to know that, right? Like that's why
it takes time.
Right. That's why therapy exists. And sometimes I feel like there's nuances to literally everything.
Yep.
That's why, again, this is not a therapy session. This is us talking about it. And if you have your own therapist, like explore this with them.
Yeah.
If you are kind of going, oh my God, I do that, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. Again, that's kind of why we wanted to talk about what we're talking about today. And everyone's different. Some people really need to rely on coping skills because, you know, maybe they've never had a safe space to have emotional output. They don't know what that looks like. They don't know what that feels like, even in therapeutic settings. So just kind of, I guess, point of the story is I look at it all as trial and error.
Story of our lives.
Trial and error. And that is totally fine because that's how we find things that work for us and things that don't. But I think the biggest like message today is if you feel stuck or like you're kind of at a standstill in therapy, like explore some of these things because there's ways out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's different things that can definitely be barriers. So talk through. I know that like I said, I've had patients in my private practice and even in like my big girl job, like I said, that face those kind of barriers. Treatment fatigue is real. Like it is kind of just saying, hey, I'm kind of stuck in this therapy loop where I keep talking about my mom. Like I keep talking about my parents.
Right.
And now it's saying like, hey, like, well, let's talk about you, like what your wants are. You know, it's real. And so keep challenging yourselves. And I think keep asking that question of, am I doing stuff that is aligned with my future goals? Because I think your goals are always going to tell you what is the direction you're wanting to go in. Because if we're just kind of sitting in the past and kind of sitting on this, you know, hole that we're digging ourselves, the goals can always keep you aligned on what those next steps are.
I kind of want to give I want to do a goal buster here real quick.
A goal buster. I like that.
Yeah. So if your goal is to be this healed version of yourself, like an end healed, finished product of yourself, bust, punch.
I was like, wait,
Bust the goal.
I was like, even as she was saying that, I was like, that sounds so nice, but that's not realistic.
No, but it's not. And
I was just like that. I was like me, but I know that I shouldn't raise my hand.
Like
right now.
like where we say, I've started telling my patients, they'll say, oh, I see the light at the tunnel. And I'm like, hey, the light will get brighter.
The light's
but
a lie.
You're not going to step into the sun. Right. And I know that might be like hard to hear, But I think we get so focused on this end goal of being this healed version of yourself, and that's just not the case.
Yeah, I think, well, I always tell my patients, and it's such a hard thing to accept, that we just moved through something and life's going to keep throwing us some things. And we built a resiliency, or we're still trying to build resiliency towards it. And I think you talk about light, I think it's clarity.
Yes.
Where there can be a level of clarity where it's saying, hey, I actually do have a lot of autonomy in my choices in ways that I didn't think or feel that I have. And it's the way we look at it.
My favorite thing to say is healing is not making the bad things go away. It's our capacity to tolerate discomfort.
Yeah.
That is healing. When we can start to, I'll go back to people-pleasing example. When I can start to tolerate people being upset with me, I know I'm healing.
Yes.
Right? When I'm not in shambles, anxious, ruminating, worrying, asking if they want me to bake them a cake and massage their back to make it all better, right? And I can sit there and be okay with somebody, which, by the way, I'm kind of there. I've done a lot better. That's how I know I'm healing. But I'm not ever going to be healed because, like you said, those parts are going to come up.
Yep.
They're going to pop up and they're going to go, hey, go do the thing, right? Go do your thing.
I think that circling back to your goals, because I love that you're like, bust, this is not something. Whenever you're setting goals, what is it? The SMART goals?
Right.
Yeah.
I can't remember the whole.
Subjective, measurable. Yeah.
Blah,
you know what?
blah, blah.
We'll cycle it in there because that was not part of what I made her remember today.
Blah, blah, blah,
not
blah.
that acronym.
But
no, it does have to do with these need to be something that you can achieve. And not saying can't achieve, but like realistic goals, measurable goals, something that is kind of factual. You can see,
right.
In what you were saying, hey, I'm noticing that I have been not as affected, and I'm noticing I'm feeling this XYZ. I think even I talked about it in groups where it's saying, hey, if you can plan for doing ADLs, which are acts of daily living, 3 times a week. And it doesn't matter what those are, but if they are brushing your teeth, changing your clothes, something like this. And this is for obviously my more low motivation, highly depressed patients. But it's saying if we're able to do 3 ADLs this week, we're working towards our goal. Right. And so that's like measurable for them to see. And then they lean into it and then we reflect how we felt afterwards.
Right.
So those are things where we can kind of keep stepping that bar up.
Right.
And so that gives yourself something to lean to and lean on.
Right. But to say, like, it's like somebody with complex trauma coming and sitting in front of me and saying, and we're kind of like, okay, let's look at goals like in increments of like 90 days, like 3 months. Yeah. They're like, well, I want to be completely healed through all of my trauma in the next 3 months. And I'm like, okay, so long-term goal there, long-term.
Yeah.
But not realistic right now. And I think it's so important as therapists to make sure you are helping your clients understand realistic goals. Not that we know them or who they are or what they're capable of, because that's not what we're saying. But what we're not going to do is set somebody up to think in 3 months I can, you can
be this whole.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just so important, like, to have measurable and specific goals.
Which I love doing because obviously setting up treatment plans and things like that, reviewing over treatment plans in a way that is obviously effective for your therapy. I know it's not obviously something that is done for everyone, but I know, and like I said, my big girl job, we review over this, we look at the goals, we even measure kind of throughout the months of, hey, where do you feel like this percentage at? Right. I have it be a conversation. Right. Like, where do you feel like you're at with this goal? And we kind of talk and collaborate of the why, like, what do you feel like you've done? And then we talk on it, and it gives them just this like active kind of role in what they're doing. Right. So it is a cool thing to see and kind of have them look at and say like, hey, you just talk, like, we're over like 90% complete with these goals. And they're usually at the time of discharge or time of ending treatment, they're usually like, wait, I feel like I have so much more to work on. I was like, yeah, you do. I was like, you do, just not in this space.
Right.
I was like, you are where you need to be to take that next step.
Right. The change part.
The change. I was like, you probably do. Just not here.
Right. Yeah. And I know in treatment settings,
those
different. Types of goals are so important because you've got such a delicate amount of time to like achieve things. Yep. When you're out in just like outpatient therapy, it's a little bit different because, it's like, well, there's no time limit here.
Yeah. Yeah, we usually have like 6 to 8 weeks with them.
Right. So point of the story, I've said that twice today.
There's a lot of points.
There's a lot of points that we've made, but the biggest point here is you can't stop at awareness. You've got to keep going beyond that to find and make the change. And the motivation for that change doesn't just happen. Motivation comes from we change, we do the things, we like the outcome.
Yeah.
Therefore, motivation is born.
Yeah. And explore past just coping skills, because coping is obviously a way to move through, but it is not getting you out.
Right. And none of these things we are saying are bad or unhelpful. We love them.
They're
we
just
use
barriers.
them.
Yeah. They're just things that you can come across that make you want to stop treatment. Like, hey, I've gotten skills. I'm back to this level of functioning that I feel like is effective for me, but you're going to circle right back into cycles of behavior. And same thing with acceptance, where it's just like, okay, that makes me feel good that I'm aware, but it's still not changing things for you. So whenever you're ready or you're noticing things are not where you want them to be, we're here.
That was such a gentle way to say that. I was watching this, just like as we wrap up, I was watching this TikTok of use a
Gentle
therapist saying call somebody out, but in therapist talk, right? And it's just that's basically what you just did.
Mick hates
it though. I know.
Mick hates it. We just talked about this. He was just like, just tell them what you think and feel. And I was like, no.
Help me understand why you want me to do that. Right?
Love you, baby. But that's all we have for you today.
Yeah,
I was like, you got any other notes? No notes?
No, that was fun.
Like I said, new couch next time we get to meet and chat. And we love you, Unhinged Besties.
Yeah.
Keep it real.
I was going to say that too. Keep it so real, you guys.
Keep it the realist. Keep it wholehearted. But don't worry. We got your back.
In season 2.
Bye.